Hello and welcome to the chaos. It is Tuesday after GalaxyCon. I am still recovering. It was a long, very busy weekend. Um, I've got some clips from the show to show you. I didn't get as many as I had hoped I would. Um, Thursday, I only got like just a short little view of the booth all empty. We didn't set up the plushies until Friday morning. Friday, I got a couple of clips. Saturday, I got a couple of clips. And then Sunday, I wound up not recording at all. And then, of course, yesterday when we were home, I was just exhausted. Just didn't do much of anything yesterday. But I do want to take you through the experience of GalaxyCon, just start to finish, how it all went. So this is going to be kind of a chatty talk with a few clips from GalaxyCon itself kind of thrown in. So grab a project if you've got something you want to work on. Just leave me in the background just to get some information on how my first con went and how my I guess what's the word I want to use? Just my thoughts on a GalaxyCon and any kind of tips and hints and tricks or whatever you may be able to glean from this information. So to start with, Thursday was load-in day. Now we were close enough to drive. Thankfully, there were a lot of people that flew there. So we drove in on Thursday, and the first thing that we had to do, first we checked into our hotel, but the first thing we had to do was go to what they called the marshalling yard, which was like a gravel parking lot um, owned by the convention center, attached to the convention center. And we had to get in line there and wait to be given a loading dock pass to be able to drive our vehicle to the loading dock, then to unload our stuff. And everybody had to sign up for a time slot for this particular load in, so that they didn't have everybody trying to show up all at once. So my time slot was 4:30 in the afternoon. We got there basically right at 4:30. We got to the marshalling yard, and there was already a little line of cars waiting in the parking lot to be given their loading dock passes. And they were all kind of lined up at one of those little like guard stations that you see in like the paid parking lots, basically. But they weren't moving. They were just sitting, and there was nobody coming out of the guard station. We were really confused at first. We weren't even sure if we were in the right place. Um, but we did pull in and work our way to the back of the line. There was someone else getting out of their car to help someone else further in the line kind of move their vehicle around some fencing that was sort of in the way. So we rolled down the window of our car and just checked with her real quick, since she seemed to kind of know what she was doing. And she said, yeah, we were in the right place. This was the loading dock, and that she had been there for an hour at that point because her check-in time was 3:30. And she had not even been pulled through yet. So that told us right then and there that they were running behind, and we might be sitting there for a while. She actually asked us, "You got enough gas in your car?" Because she knew we'd be sitting. Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the holdup was, but the whole thing was a little behind when it came to loading in at the loading dock. A lot of people were waiting in line there at that marshalling yard for a while. But once we finally did get through that and get our pass, probably another hour after our scheduled time was. Yeah, I think it was about 5:30 when we pulled through. We pulled behind the convention center to their loading dock area, all the way down to Hall D, which is where they were having the convention itself. So we pulled in. We were directed to a spot that by the ramp where we could park our vehicle and start unloading our stuff. Now everybody was supposed to have 30 minutes just to unload their vehicle and then get it out of the way so that other people could pull in. And I think that's probably what was taking so long and making everything back up, was that people were taking more than that 30 minutes, and they were not enforcing that particular rule. We pulled in, I think we actually took more than our 30 minutes as well, not intentionally, but I think that did wind up happening. But we pulled in, we got all their stuff unloaded and out to our table. Took us a minute to find the table because they hadn't quite put up all the signs yet directing like where Artist Alley was and where the exhibitor hall was and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of had to just wander back and forth a little bit looking at the individual signs on the tables until we could find ours. Um, Found our table and then started just getting the grid up. Like we weren't going to plan on putting any stock up on Thursday. We just wanted to get the grid kind of in place and ready so Friday morning we could come and actually put out our stock. And that took us probably 45 minutes to do all of that. So we were in our spot a little bit longer than the 30 minutes we were technically supposed to be there, but we were doing our best to hustle and not take up that spot for longer than we needed to. But we did hear a few times over the intercom, they were announcing vehicle makes and license numbers and saying things like, you have outstayed your welcome, you need to move your vehicle. So I think that's probably why everything was kind of backed up and slowed down. It was hot because they had the loading dock doors open, so they couldn't turn the AC on. So it was hot and it was muggy. I mean, it was Louisiana. So I think it was like 95 that day, and the humidity was well over 100%. I mean, if you can get over 100% humidity, which I guarantee you in the South you can. Um, it was hot, it was muggy, but we got it done. You know, we got the grid up, we got it all built up, we got all the plushy bags just tucked under the table for the time being, so that we could come back on Friday. And then we had to go and get ourselves situated before we went back to the hotel. So, and here's another thing that's another tip for you. If you're going to be going someplace where you have to have some kind of paid parking, um, and this is something the parking attendant at the parking garage we stayed at told me, use a website called Spot Hero, um, because they will get you the kind of pass that you can use to get in and out of the garage that you're in. I had gone online and, never having done this before, didn't really know what website to use. So I just used the one that the convention center, or not the convention center, but that GalaxyCon had linked in their exhibitor email information. And I think they probably didn't know for sure. I mean, that was probably just, I don't even know where they got that link, but it probably wasn't like well vetted or researched or anything. But I think I got scammed. I did get on that website and I reserved a spot in the garage, paid the money, got a printed receipt to use to get in. But then when you pull into the garage, you have to get a barcode to scan you in and out, and that's what you pay to get out when you scan the barcode. And you can't, the bars won't lift if you don't use the code. Um, so when we got there and we were trying to figure that out, there was luckily still an attendant there, and I showed him my receipt and told him, you know, that we'd reserved it. And he said, well, this isn't the right kind. I'm going to let you out now, but I don't want you to wind up getting double charged. So when you come back, you can't go in and out. You'll have to just park and leave it, which was fine. We were half a block to the hotel one direction and to the convention center the other. So it wasn't a bad walk, but it just meant that, you know, we were going to have to get all of our things done and park the van in the garage and then leave it there for the weekend and just not move it again until we were ready to actually go home. Um, but yeah, and it turned out that that still wasn't good enough. Um, when we left on Sunday, I wound up having to repay for that entire 3 days. And I have tried to reach out to the company that I prepaid for the parking garage through, and they've not responded. And actually, they had an email link in the receipt email they'd sent me, and that one came bounced back as a not valid email address. So I did just a reply to the email they'd sent it to me from, but I think I got scammed. But anyway, I'm not going to harp on that anymore. It is what it is. But the parking attendant told us to use in the future a website called Spot Hero, and that it would look up, you know, parking situations in whatever area we were heading to and give us the appropriate scan in and out barcode to use with those type of garages. So there's a tip for you right there. If you're going to be traveling somewhere where you have to pay for parking, look up Spot Hero and find a way to reserve your parking through that. Okay, so that was Thursday. We went grocery shopping, we went back to the hotel. We were trying to cut down on the expenses, so we went and just got like sandwich fixings and snacks and things like that so that we'd be able to eat while we were on the floor. And then we got some like Hot Pockets and things that we could microwave in the hotel room and left in the hotel fridge to eat when we got back to the hotel, so that we wouldn't have to spend money on convention food because it's very expensive. We did go and look one day because we thought maybe we'll treat ourselves one day to lunch there at the convention, but it was like $18 for a bowl of noodles, and I wasn't doing it. So we just had our snacks. So Friday, the convention hours were 2 to 8. We got there at 12 so that we could set up all the plushies and everything. Got them set up in about an hour, and then I was able to kind of walk around and look at things for a little bit. Friday was slow, I will say. And Amanda King of Eclectic Scribbles was there, and she also said, yes, this is slow even for a Friday. And she's done quite a few cons. But like she said, it was, and this is going to be the butt for pretty much the whole weekend. It was the first time this con was in this area. So it's not unusual for first time cons to be a lot slower, and it's not what you should judge the entire con on. I still am not, I'll tell you right now, I'm not certain I'll be rebooking this one. So Friday was slow. We did make one page worth of sales. Sorry, it's all crumpled, but it was just kind of, when we were packing up, we just kind of shoved things everywhere. But so I printed these off to keep track of sales. So you can see the spaces are pretty big. Like I could probably fit a lot more on this page if it was like regular notebook paper, but I wanted room to write and make notes if I needed to. So let's see, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 sales on Friday. And they were all pretty small sales. So I sold, first thing that sold was the egg bunny for $20. The second thing was a little ghost for $20. And then I sold one of my little evolution beans. It was the Flareon for $20. I sold one of Crochet by Jenna's jellyfish for $25. Sold two of my Pokemon keychains from the Bex Made Studio keychains. It was Squirtle and Snorlax, 15 each for those. Then I sold the Aaron's Yarnimals chubby Pokemon. I'm going to start calling them Potatomon because somebody at the con told me they look like potatoes, and I love it. So I sold a Bulbasaur and a Squirtle of those. Those were 45 a piece. Another little Charmander keychain, 15. I don't know if you're noticing a theme here, but a lot of Pokemon. Hoggy's Place Little Critters Little Wizard from her, I think it's the Enchanted Eternals pack. I can't remember which one it is, but she had a fantasy pack of 15 where they could be broken up into like groups of 3. I bought the 15 pack, but so I can't remember which. Might have been this something Sweet Spellcasters or something. But so a little wizard. You look like a little Gandalf with a little blue hat. It was really cute. So that was 20. I sold one of the stickers that my kids designed. It was the little flower that says "You suck." That was $3. And then I sold a small flower turtle. It was a daisy, I want to say. I made it with the Fluffy Flex yarn, so it was like had like a confetti look to it. And that was 45. And then a scrump keychain for 15. I sold a medium-sized dragon for 45. I'm trying to remember which pattern that was. I think it wasn't the Crochet by Jenna pattern. I can't remember which pattern it was, but it was smaller than the No Sew Dragon by Crochet by Jenna comes out, but bigger than like the little mini dragon. I don't know, but it was 45. So it's a couple of things that went for 45. A Mario mushroom, which is the cable and canvas popping mushroom, Sammy Spore. That's the one, and I do it like a Mario mushroom. That one was 25, and then a bee sold for 20. So that was it for Friday. So Friday's total was 393. So that put us at that point about halfway to making back our expenses. I had hoped to at least make back expenses on Friday, but we didn't. That didn't happen. We got halfway to expenses on Friday. So I'll pause now and I'll go ahead and show you the clips that I took from Friday itself so you can get a little view of the con on Friday. Okay, so we're right at halfway through, and so far we have sold an egg bunny, a little ghost, a tiny Flareon, a jellyfish, Squirtle keychain, Snorlax keychain, one of the chubby Bulbasaurs, a chubby Squirtle, Charmander keychain, a little bitty wizard, and a sticker. So not too bad for a little over 2.5 hours so far. It would be great if we could make back expenses today, but I'm not holding out for that. Fridays normally, from what I've researched and heard, Fridays are normally like the slower days at cons. So we're just gonna, it's been steady. It's about to hit 5 o'clock though, and I think it's gonna be a little bit busier after that point because people will be getting off work and being able to come in and everything. I've had a lot of lookers too, but then there's a lot of people that have the 3-day pass, so they may be looking and then going to purchase at another time. So that's our halfway point check-in, and I'll check back in at the end of the day and let you know how the first day went. And we are back. And so then Friday night, like I said, it closed at 8. We went back to the hotel. We just kind of crashed. There was somebody who had asked me on Friday. No, am I thinking of the wrong day? I'm thinking of the wrong day. Yeah. So I'll get back to that because that's later. So then Saturday. Saturday started at 10 a.m. and went till 8. And Saturday was definitely the busiest day of the 3. I wound up doing about two and a half, a little over a half of my sales sheets. Still not what I was expecting or what I was hoping for from a GalaxyCon, but let's see. We did 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. 44 items sold on Saturday. So I'll go through the list of that with you real quick. So there was a dice tower tome that I sold for 15. They are for mini dice. They're about this big, and you can keep your set of dice in them and roll your dice with it. And each one of them had a set of mini dice in them. I sold a Stardew Valley chicken for 25. That is by the Celestial Homebody. That's her pattern. I sold the large dragon in a 3D printed egg for 55. That was the Diddy Dex pattern, but in blanket yarn, so it came out pretty big. I sold a sticker bundle, so that was 4 stickers for $10. Another Dice Tower tome for 15. A group came and bought together a small chicken. It's the Mabel chicken, of small Crochet by Jenna Possum, and a mini toothless dragon, which is the Diddy Dex pattern, but I alter it to look like toothless. So those were $20, $20, and $35 respectively. Another one of the chubby Pokemon. This is a Bulbasaur for 45. A little rubber duck for 25. That was a free Instagram pattern. I'm trying to remember whose was that. Woolly.amigurumi, maybe. I think that was it. Another chubby Pokemon. This was Charmander this time for 45. Another medium-sized sea turtle for 45. I think this one was just like a blue body, green shell, just very standard colors. Another Stardew chicken for 25. A cat keychain for 15. That's the mini loaf cat by Annie Caraway. Another Dice Tower tome for 15. A mini Umbreon. These are the little Pokemon that I'm mentioning here. The evolutions are Fox and Fae creations, and they are a free Instagram pattern. They're bees. They're the evolutions as bees, but I didn't give them bee wings. So for mine, they were just like little beans. So that was 20. Then a chick in an orange hat or pumpkin hat, whatever, for 20. And then someone actually bought part of my cosplay, and I had to make another one. This is actually kind of a funny story. So I was wearing one of these that I had made for myself to go with my cosplay, and I had like a Link shirt, and I had a little crochet knobby that sat on my shoulder. And I was wearing that on Saturday for my cosplay. And I had 3 different people actually ask me about the hat. And I kept telling them that this is the only one I brought. I don't have another one. And the second guy took my business card and asked if I could do a commission and how much it was. And he actually did commission me, and that's what this one is for. Because he messaged me that same day to give me his details and make sure he could get his hat made. And then the third guy, when he found out that that was the only one I had, he said, well, how much is it? Can I have that one? And so he literally bought the hat right off of my head for $45. And then that commission will also be $45. Um, and then two people came up together and bought small dragons and 3D printed eggs for 45 a piece. Somebody bought a master ball keychain for 15. Somebody bought a clownfish, small clownfish for 20. That was the small fish free pattern from All From Jade on Instagram for small fish, and I just did it in orange and black to look like a clownfish. Then another one of the chubby Pokemon, this time Eevee, sold for 45. And then my first really large purchase, somebody bought one of my character dolls, the Link doll, for 125. Then next was another small dragon, and this was again the Diddy Dex dragon in the eggs, but they wanted the dragon without the egg, so 35 for that one. A green Junimo for 25. That's another free Instagram pattern. I can't remember the name of it. If I remember to when I'm editing this, I'll try to put the name in the description. But I do change that pattern a little bit because the Instagram one comes out rather large, so I shorten it by several rows. Like I stop increasing after like the third row of increases, and then I make it a little like 2-3 rows taller and then decrease, and just follow the pattern that way instead of increasing it as many times as it says to, because it was just getting too big. Then I sold my Furby. It was my pattern for 25. A Totoro on a swing for 15. A turtle for 25. That was one of the tofu turtles, just kind of in generic colors. A sticker that my daughter drew, the Stay Silly sticker for 3. One of the mini mushy pops by Cable and Canvas for 20. And then another group came up and got a small dragon for 35. So again, it's the dragon without the egg. The Poggies Place Little Fairies from her Enchanting Eternals collection, and a sticker bundle. So that was 35 for the dragon, 20 for the fairy, and 10 for the stickers. Snorlax's keychain went for 15. Another Dice Tower tome for 15. The mini Sylveon and a mini Eevee for 20 apiece. Another little possum for 20. A chicken keychain for 15, and I'm pretty sure it was a blue chicken. And then a tiny tome for 10. I did have a few of the compartment tomes that were smaller even than the mini dice ones, and they're basically big enough to put in jewelry for travel, or maybe some pills or something like that, just like real little ones. So I sold those for 10. So the total for Saturday was 1,118. So that we did finally finish meeting our expenses by about 1:30 that afternoon. So that first page covered our expenses, and then the rest of it was profit after that. So like I said, Saturday was our busiest day. It did do better than Friday by, it was about 3 times. Yeah, 3 times what Friday did. Still not as good as I had hoped from a con, but I can't complain too much because we did at least make a profit. So then it ended at 8. We went back to the hotel. My husband has some friends in town, and he wound up going out for coffee with one of his friends. And I just stayed in the hotel and just kind of relaxed. While we were there on Saturday, somebody asked if I had a Pikachu of the chubby Pokemon, which I didn't at the time, but I had brought some yellow yarn, yellow and black yarn along with me in case I felt like making something like bees or something just to kind of pass the time and fill things up. So I made one in the hotel that night and had it on the table the next morning. And it did wind up selling on Sunday as well. I don't think it was the same person though. I think so. I think it was somebody else. So then Sunday morning dawned, and it was again a 10 a.m. start, but it was supposed to end at 6. It was a bit of a shorter day. Before I get into Sunday, though, let me go ahead and pause here, and I will put in the clips that I did have from Saturday, because I do have a couple of clips. So I'll let you watch those real quick. Hey, day 2 at GalaxyCon. Here is our setup for day 2. It's not going to look a whole lot different from day 1, because we were filling in holes as we went. We made, I think, 3 more sales after the last check-in yesterday. So we are sitting at 9:38 right now. Doors open to the general public in about 20 minutes. And we are ready for a fantastic day 2. And I will check in with y'all later. Well, it's almost 6, so there's just a little over 2 hours left in the con for today. And it's been a little disappointing, actually. It's not been one I've hoped for at all. We did make back our expenses by about 1:30 today, and we've made a little bit since then, about maybe 300 over what our expenses were. It's just not, it hasn't been what I hoped for. Like I said, there's still 2 more hours today, and there's still tomorrow, so I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of hopes. And now we'll get into Sunday stuff. So Sunday, got there at right at 9:30. Like, there wasn't a reason really to get there early on Sunday. And I sold 1.5 pages of my tracker on Sunday. So let's go through Sunday's numbers real quick. So started off the day with a small dragon. Again, this was the ones in the eggs, but they wanted it without the eggs, so 35. One of the tiny dragonites that I made, and that was using the Poggy's Place Little Critters Dragon, and I did it in dragonite colors. I also had a few in baby, like little chubby Charizard colors. That was 20. Someone came and got the chick with the mushroom hat for 20. I sold a leggy frog for 20. I think I was like one of only 2 leggy frogs I sold the entire weekend. Another jellyfish for 25. The jellyfish got a good bit of attention during the weekend. Like, several people picked them up and put them back before choosing something else. The chubby Pikachu that I had made the night before in the hotel for 45. A Premier Ball keychain for 15. And then a group came and got one of the little ghosts for 20, and 2 different stickers, the Stay Silly sticker and a Kirby sticker for 3 each. Then the biggest sale of the weekend, somebody bought my black Morningstar Tail Dragon Tarn for 150. And then an orange axolotl sold for 25, a Kirby sold for 20, and a Kirby on a swing for 15, another Kirby for 20, a leggy frog for 20, the tiny Espeon for 25. Those were normally 20, but this particular customer wanted to know if I could add little eyes to it, so I embroidered on some eyes, and she paid an extra 5 for that service, so 25 for that one. Another Dice Tower tome for 15, the Pokeball Tofu Turtle for 25, a chubby Bulbasaur for 45, a chocolate covered strawberry turtle for 25. It's based on the Crochet by Jenna mini bow turtle pattern, but I changed up the colors and added like a little strawberry stem to the back to make it look like it was a chocolate covered strawberry. A chubby Squirtle sold for 45. One of the little werewolves, that's another Poggy's Place, that was from her Halloween pack last year, sold for 20. And then the last customer of the day came and got another Dice Tower tome for 15 and a Scrump keychain for 15, making the total for Sunday $686. So that was about double Friday. So we had Friday at the lowest, Sunday in the middle with 2 times what Friday was, and then Saturday being the biggest with 3 times what Friday was. The grand total for the entire weekend was $2,197, minusing about $850 in expenses. So that took us down to 1,400, I want to say, in profit for the weekend. So I mean, I profited. I can't complain because I did profit, but it was not what I'd hoped for. My minimum goal was 2,000. So we met the minimum goal, but my I'll be really happy goal was more along the lines of 4 to 5,000, and then my um, blow it out of the water goal would have been 8,000. So I met the minimum that was required so that I wouldn't be completely depressed about the weekend. But that was all we did. Um, yeah, and there could be a couple of different um, reasons for that. I think number one, probably biggest reason. Hang on a second, I need to get a sip of my drink. I think probably number one biggest reason was just that it was the first year in this location, and so people aren't accustomed to it there yet. And the next year will hopefully then be bigger because people who came this year will be looking forward to coming back next year, and will also be telling their friends about it. It was such a great time. You should come. It'll be great. So I do believe next year will probably have bigger attendance than this year did, because things like this just do tend to get a little bit bigger as they become more well known, more notoriety. GalaxyCon itself, the company that runs GalaxyCon, and I think they do also do Animate and like Nightmare Weekends or something like that. I looked it up online and found out that they actually tend to draw 20 to 50,000 attendees per event at their events. There was nowhere near that at this event. I don't know what the exact number was, but I know it was not 20,000. Um, maybe 6,000. I don't know. It was not 20,000. So that will continue to get better over time, I'm sure. The second, I think, biggest thing is probably due to the fact that Louisiana is a lower income state, just like Mississippi, where I live, is a lower income state. Um, so it is a little harder to make those impulse buy sales, because people just don't have as much ready cash flowing around. And as my husband stated, he was there with me this weekend. Once you paid $60 to get in the door, or if you're paying for a weekend pass for the whole weekend and you're paying a couple of $100s to attend this event, how much money do you have left after that for merch? Or if you pay the couple $100 for your ticket, and then you're also paying another 100 or so for the signatures that you're specifically wanting to get, how much do you have left after that to spend on just stuff, on merch, on souvenirs? And I can see that. That was a valid point. And that, I think, is different in bigger cities, more affluent cities, um, that the ticket price is not such an ask, where people have a little bit higher income, as it is in a place like Louisiana or Mississippi. So I think that did hurt sales a little bit. And then the third big thing, I think, was that my particular stock was a little bit too all over the place. And that's my own fault. Most of the things that sold, I'm sure you heard as I was listing things off, were Pokemon related. Little Pokemon, the Pokemon keychains, the $45 chubby Pokemon. That was definitely the biggest seller of the weekend. The character plushies got a lot of attention, especially Harry and Hermione. People were looking at them all weekend. And I knew that they would not be the big sellers because they're the higher priced ones. They did get a lot of attention. The My Little Ponies got some attention, but not as much as the Harry Potter. Um, and I had several people asking if I had a Draco Malfoy, which I didn't. I just had Harry and Hermione. So I may make a Draco Malfoy to go with the two of them as well, and just have a trio of it, and a Ron, have a quartet. I don't know. I should probably do Ron first, so I had the actual trio. That makes more sense. In any case, the biggest thing, yeah, was the Pokemon. That was definitely the biggest seller of the weekend. Um, so I think I need to niche down a little further for these markets. And in any case, for local markets, the other little stuff goes great. People love the turtles, they love the jellyfish, they love, just all the random stuff. But I think I would have done better if I'd had more fan related stuff at this particular event. Um, and so go in the future for cons, I will be focusing more on making those kind of things and less on like the total randomness that I have currently. Now I still have a lot of randomness in my bags, so I'm going to be taking those along with me to the shows that I currently have lined up. Hopefully, I can clear out of a lot of that stuff by the end of this year with some of the other local markets that I'm doing. So I've got a couple of Christmas shows scheduled. I've got the Purvis Street Fest that I did. I've done 2 years in a row now, so this will be my third year doing that, and I've always done fairly well at those. So hopefully, I can clear out a lot of that stuff at those, and then going forward, just really focus in on the more character, but not the big characters, if that makes sense. So not like the full dolls, like these guys. Which I don't know if you noticed, poor Dean is laying down because one of my kids knocked over his stand and broke it, and I have to print a new one. Um, but yeah, so not those kind of dolls, but like the chubby Pokemon, the more $45 and less range in character stuff. Try to focus in on those and get more of that stuff stocked in. And then when I want to make something random or for a pattern test or whatever, not make a whole bunch of them, but just make the one that I feel like making, and then so it doesn't take over my inventory, if that makes sense. So that was the sales for the weekend and my thoughts on why they were the way they were. Now, as for the con itself, it was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun. I brought a charm bracelet that I wore. I think I showed it in one of the clips, but I had little stitch markers clipped onto it like charms. And so I went and was able to go around on Friday and find the other crochet vendors that were there. There was me, there was Amanda King from Scribbles, and then there were two other smaller crochet booths um, there. And I had gifted all of them with a stitch marker. So that was a fun way to start the weekend, getting to meet a few other crocheters and just share a little happy with them. Um, and then there was a ton of cool cosplay. My husband and I had a great time just watching all the cosplay walk by and trying to figure out who was who, because there's so many of them that we had no idea, because they're from these animes that we don't really watch um, and I'd never seen. But then there were also a ton that I did recognize, so that was fun. Some of them were so elaborate. It was so cool. They had the Louisiana Ghostbusters were there with their own. I think they were doing like a charity drive, but so they had a whole crew of people that were in the full-on Ghostbusters gear with the backpacks and everything. Several people with the remote control droids going up and down, R2D2 and whatnot. Um, they had Baby from Supernatural parked in there, and had her trunk open with the symbol painted on the inside and like props all around her and everything. It was so cool. I did get some pictures of her. Um, a lot of the other booths were like really cool. Um, I did wind up getting a pillowcase from the Totes Thirsty booth, and they have a website. If you can find them at totesthirsty.com. But they have all the fan based, mostly guys, uh, images and quotes on bags and pillowcases and all kinds of fun products. And I was torn between a bag and a pillowcase based on the Supernatural series, and I wound up going with the pillowcase. And it's a double sided pillowcase with one brother on each side of it, and then it says "Lay your weary head to rest" on the side of the pillowcase. It's hilarious. I love it. Um, so that was a lot of fun. It was a great time hanging out with my husband without the kids and just enjoying a weekend to ourselves, even though it was a work weekend. It was great talking to all the people there. The guy who was in the booth behind us was an artist, and he's been to a lot of these cons, and he was really nice, just giving us all kinds of advice and tips and stuff all weekend. We had a great time chatting with him while we were there. It was really cool meeting Amanda from Eclectic Scribbles and chatting with her all throughout the weekend. So it was good. It was fun. I mean, I know I griped a little bit about the numbers, and I'm not happy with how the numbers played out. But the actual con was a great time. I really really enjoyed myself. Um, and I do want to go to more cons. I don't know for sure that I'll go back to this one. And one of the reasons is those numbers. Because Although we did profit, I don't know that that profit was enough to tempt me to want to make the travel time, the hotel time, and the amount of work that I put in for being there for 3 solid days worth it. Um, but also because I am going to hopefully be going to Anime Matsuri next summer, and the dates might, they are, if they're not like overlapping, they're like right next to each other, and I'm not going to do back to back cons. And I believe Anime Matsuri will be a better one than GalaxyCon. It's more established for one thing and bigger, and it's in a bigger city in Houston, Texas, more affluent city. So I do believe that will be a better one, and that one I will actually be doing joint with another crochet friend of mine who lives in Texas. So we'll be able to help each other out and watch each other's stuff, and it'll be a good time. It'll be a good time. Um, I did actually get and asked to another new con that's coming up this weekend. It's not really a con; it's a card show. It's the Mississippi Card Show, and it's in the same place where they do the Comic Con and the Anime Con here in Mississippi, which are smaller cons, but they're local, so I don't have to like stay in a hotel or anything. Um, and the table fee is pretty low. It's only $50 for this one. But this is the first time they've done this, and it looks like it's going to be sort of like a celebration of trading card games, like Pokemon tournaments, Magic the Gathering, that kind of thing. So I'm going to be making as many more Pokemon as I can between now and Saturday to fill back in my chubby Pokemon section. And making hats as well. That's another new thing that I'm starting. I'll give you a sneak peek now. It's going to wind up being in my weekly makes videos probably, if I have time to make another one before Saturday, another video, which I may not. But I'm doing these slouchy beanies. Let's see if I can get it to sit right on my head. Yeah, so slouchy beanie, but themed. So it's a little bit different. I didn't want to do just like your regular old kind of beanie. And I thought about doing a hood, but I'm just not a big fan of hoods. So I thought this slouchy style beanie would be enough different to kind of set it apart. Um, and then I can do, I'm gonna try to get all the evolutions. I can't get Eevee itself because I have, hold on the back here, I have only this much left of the caramel color, and they're out of stock online. I can't order anymore. And this is the color. This is Eevee. And I think I only have maybe half a skein of this left, which is not enough to make the hat. The hat needs a full skein for sure. So no Eevee hat, which makes me sad. I don't know. I may go back out there and see if there's another color that would sort of work for Eevee. Maybe there's a lighter one and I can say it's a shiny Eevee. Maybe. I don't know. But so that's my plan. The hats and the yarnables, they each take me about the same amount of time to make. So I'm going to load up on Pokemon stuff, remake, and if I still have time, also remake all of the little Pokemon beans that I sold most of while I was at the market, and some Pokeball keychains, just little things like that. So we'll see. We'll see what I can get done, but it's all going to be Pokemon related. Um, I've only got a couple more days before the market, so I probably won't get a ton done, but I'll get what I can done, and then I've still got plenty of stock left from GalaxyCon, if I'm honest. So that's my vlog. That's my GalaxyCon take. Um, yeah, I can't think. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stood out about the con. Had a lot of people asking about that link hat, so I'm definitely gonna be doing some more of those. And when they asked about that, they also asked, did I have any other character hats? So I'm really hopeful that the character hats will do well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I did also on the drive there. I started working on a new pattern, so I'll give you guys a sneak peek of that too. So this is just a prototype. He's not ready. He's not ready. I like his head and his body and how the neck curves like this, like that. I like that shape. I'm going to keep that shape, but I'm not 100% sold on his legs. So I need to rework these legs, and maybe they just kind of need to be positioned differently so they go down. I think I may just maybe I just sewed them too high up on the body, and I might need to shorten them by a row. They might be a little too long. But I'll work on that. I'll work on that later. But I like him so far. I like his head and his body shape. Um, so he needs a little bit more working before he's ready for a pattern test, but he'll be coming out pretty soon. And that's it. That's all I have for you. I am still pretty tired from the con, so my voice is still going. I'm going to go ahead and end this here, and then I can work on editing it so I can actually get it out to you guys. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.